Hi, I'm Greg Watermann. I'm a music photographer and video director in Los Angeles. I'm a ZEISS ambassador, and I've been using ZEISS lenses for 4 decades now professionally. I started off as a fashion photographer in the early 80s, shooting for magazines and advertising agencies. I, after so many years, transferred to portraits, and then portraits specifically of music for Rolling Stone and Spin, and then record labels. 25 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles. I've been documenting music ever since. Very early on, I was in New York City in the early 80s as a fashion photographer, and I immediately gravitated towards the Hasselblad system. And so I was shooting ZEISS lenses from 1982 till today, and immediately saw the difference, was impressed by them, and have always made sure that those were the lenses I was using. As I changed systems through the years, whenever there were ZEISS lenses for those cameras, platforms that I was using, yeah, those were the ones that I wound up using. All of my clients have figured out that video drives more engagement now than photography does, and now probably 80% of what I do is video now, and photography is just in support of that. Even like short form things, all the way down to little 60-second pieces for TikTok. And half of what I shoot sometimes, some of the projects that I work on are shot on my phone even. So that, and the ability to shoot log footage and all the the incremental differences that the phone is giving us, like every single year that it's coming out, is making that more and more. But I'm shooting almost video exclusively now for my clients, and even when I know that they need photo, I'll just be there shooting 4K 60p all day long, and then painstakingly go back in later and pull my photos out of my video footage. By 2011, pretty much everybody was like, if you want to roll with us with a camera, you're going to have to sign over your rights, work for hire, buyout, da-da-da-da-da. A lot of photographers, most photographers, were immediately put off by that. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not fair. You're just trying to control. And all of their arguments and reasons for not doing that were valid. I, on the other hand, decided to embrace that, because what I realized was once I signed over my rights to the images, that gave me a different level of access all of a sudden. Because, I wasn't looking at it that, oh, now my clients own everything that I've done and I can't do anything with it. And it's like, okay, yes, that's a valid point. But what it meant was all of a sudden I was on the jet instead of waiting for the jet to land. The way that I looked at it is by giving them the rights to my content, and what that means is it puts it in their head that every time that I shoot a clip or whatever, they already know that they own the rights to that. That's not just a business decision on their hand, and yes, it's a good business decision on their hand, that's fine, but it's also a comfort zone that it puts them in. Now they're not afraid of my camera anymore. That gives me images, and the fans get to see things that they wouldn't get to see otherwise. The Jumpin' video that I did recently with Pitbull and Little John, they performed the song in Vegas, and then we jumped on the jet and flew back to Miami. We put the song on really loud, and they just performed the song for me on the jet. And I shot all that footage. Most of it's with the Bouchut 18. I got amazing footage that way. And it's just them on the jet having a great time. I was there, I shot it. It was sent to them first for them to approve it before anybody else saw it. Because of that, he can be throwing it down, getting as crazy as possible, and he knows that I'm only going to show the parts of him that he wants the fans to see. But that's been my journey of just literally taking production stills to being part of videos that have more than 1 billion views now, and I'd be like, yeah, I worked on that, that's mine too. My original treatment for the video for Wonderful Award was actually very complicated and probably would have involved a couple of days of shooting. So I scaled it back very quickly to something super simple. Because of that, because it was going to be super simple, I wanted to drastically raise the bar visually on how it was going to look. And so it's kind of, in a way, a BTS video, because I'm just documenting the process of her writing the song, like getting the song out of her head onto a piece of paper, except I wasn't really there when she did it, so I'm recreating that process. But Normally, that process just happens in the back of a tour bus or a hotel room, or maybe just in their living room, or just wherever they happen to be when the song is like, ah, I got it, and they get the piece of paper and it's like, okay, here it comes. I wanted to make this sort of a recreation, as in the video is really sort of happening in her mind, like the way she's imagining that it's happening. It's not happening in real life. So the point of using cinema lenses was to not have that still lens, autofocus, IAF, oh, no matter where she is, she's always going to be in and out. I want her to move in and out of focus, sometimes because of her movement or because of my movement. I did a little bit of stuff on a tripod, but what I found really, really quickly was I'm still a handheld guy, and so even though this was like it was a rig that I had, this was the first time that I had any of this equipment and any of this gear. I had an AC and a focus puller, I had a gaffer and a grip and an electrician, because I wanted to get the highest quality possible out of this situation. And the first thing that I want to mention about the lenses is, you know, I understand now, you know, there's obviously a huge price point in the lenses that I'm used to using and these, and I've never understood completely where that is, and it's like, wow, I do now. Because when I would be looking at that monitor and I was not feeling the way that it was looking, and I would make a suggestion to my gaffer, what if we did this, just barely, not even a light, just a card, and all of a sudden you would see, you saw it right there in the monitor, like there's the card, there's that line that I all of a sudden wanted. It was incredible. The ZEISS Nano Primes definitely met my expectations. Really, they exceeded them. I mean, I knew going in that I was going to be working with cinema lenses instead of just still photography lenses. I had no idea, though, the level of detail and information that I would just be able to see through the camera, forget about on playback and then on the final piece. The lenses are really sharp. They're really sharp. They're too sharp. We did throw a half pro mist over the lenses to shoot the whole thing, because I immediately saw they were really, really sharp, and the information, you know, I'm working with a really, really good colorist who specializes in beauty. He's like done some of the biggest videos that you can imagine he's done. Yeah, I wanted to give him the best, highest level information possible, the sharpest files, because he specializes in making people look great. And so, yeah, I wasn't worried about any of it going in. The whole thing, I'm just excited about how great it's going to be at the end, really.